Alright, you guys wanted to know why I thought VT2 was good. I'm going to make this video to show you why I think it is. First, I want to say that I stole a lot of my mix-ups for VT2 from Steve. Thanks, Steve. Secondly, I want to talk about the fact that I don't think VT2 is very good if you cancel into it from block. I think the two best ways to use VT2 are from hit confirms and just in neutral. I think it's good to use in neutral because there are a lot of times Mika can struggle in neutral, specifically against certain characters, and it can help you create a situation. I'll get into that later. And although you can cancel into it from block, I don't think it's very efficient. And I'll show you ways you can do cool stuff from block as well. The mix-ups, to be honest, you guys probably don't need to know them. They're pretty basic, pretty simple to figure out yourself for the most part. But I'll show you them anyway. This is a really basic one that's pretty much the same as the VT2 1 mix-up, except you can get more damage. And there's some variations of it. There's also this one that I stole from Steve. I don't know how Steve turns this into a mix-up, but the way I do it is this. Then there's some mid-screen mix-ups as well. You can also stay on the same side by doing that. And there's some other, there's a few other ones you can get. You can get one off of sweep. You can do something like this. But that's not really the point. The point is to show you what you can do on block. Specifically on block when they jump back. So something like this. So if they just jump back after you cancel into on block, what can you do? There's quite a few things you can do. One of the things you can do, one of the things I do most often is I just do wingless. So when they get up, I get a mix up on them. But also, if they delay, you still get a mix up. Nadeshko still hangs around and hits him with the second part of the chair if they do delay wake up as well. There's just something like that. And if they don't jump, you'll be safe for the most part. Mess that up. For the most part, you'll be safe. Most of the time they won't be able to punish you from that angle because their controls have been switched, and not many characters have something fast that reaches that far for a punish. Some characters do, obviously, and some people might be really ready for it. But if they're just constantly jumping back, that's a good way of dealing with it. You can also do things like this. And with this one you don't need to commit because you're just walking forward, so you can just react. You can even like press a button or do another attack and you'll still have time. It's also good if you think they might DP because you after the second hit, because you can do something like this. You can just wait and then get it. Obviously Peach would have been better in that situation. You can even get drop kick if you charge it. You can do that raw as well, if you time it right, which I didn't. Like that, you can get a drop kick. You can do a bunch of stuff. You can jump with them. That's a pretty good one as well, because you can react as well, and you can also try and cross them up. You could just be trying to cross up instead of actually trying to catch their jump, but when you're in the air you see them and you hit them. You can also do things like this. You can do a bunch of things to beat jump specifically. And I don't really need to go through stuff that will beat, like, taking throws or buttons, because most of those did that too. For example, that would beat a button. That would crush counter, I'm pretty sure, on if they ever pressed the button. So the thing about V2 as well, though, is a lot of the stuff for V2 is very character dependent. For example, this one I showed you. Oh, this one I showed you here. It didn't even work there. It can be very character dependent. Obviously, characters like Dawson have a really floaty jump. Some characters have really short jumps or high jumps, and they might not get hit. But that's part of V2. V2 requires you to know how situations will work. There isn't really a specific setup that will work on every character. You kind of have to look around, you have to use it a lot, figure these situations out for yourself, and figure out what situations work on what characters. And that's kind of one of the reasons why it's not as good as VT 1. You need that knowledge. But I think after you've played with it enough, you'll start to get these situations under control, and it starts to become really good. So the next thing I want to talk about is the second activation. Most of the time I use these in either two situations. I either just use it in neutral. So that I can get like a situation started. Or I use it, there's a couple ways you can use it. There's not a lot, but there's a couple ways you can use it mid-combo to sort of set up a death trap. One way specifically against characters like Ryu, characters with a DP. You can do something like that. It doesn't work on every character. Again, going back to what I said before, it works on characters whose DPs move fast enough that you only get hit by the armor only absorbs one hit, or characters that have a long enough period between the first and second hits of their DP so that you again only get hit by one attack. Characters like Rashid and Ibuki, there's too many hits at the start of the reversal and it beats your Peach, but even then what you can do instead is something like this. And they can some characters can anti-air, characters like Ken or Cammy that have really backwards hitting anti-airs. But even when they do that, they'll still have to take a mix-up, or they'll get punished depending on how slow the move they're using is, because Nadeshiko will throw the chair at them. Activation happens after a corner mix-up, so if you do something like this, you can just command grab them and they would be stunned and they would be dead. That's essentially two mix-ups into death. That's a pretty good one. You can also do things like Lady Mika when they get up and then do EX Peach afterwards. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do to in that situation, and it's really rough. But the main way I use the second activation most of the time, like I said, is in neutral. Because you could just sort of throw it out there. You can throw it out there and set up a situation. They have to do something. Or they take a mix-up. If they just sit there and block, I can walk up, I can command grab them. If they jump, I can just wait, I can react in EX wingless. If they try and dash forward, I can just be throwing out buttons as I move. And then get a conversion if I wanted to. There's a bunch of things you could do, but this is, I think, an aspect that you need to learn. It's not, there's no like setup I can tell you. You just need to learn it. You just need to experience, practice using the second activation and learning the situations and how you can confirm off of it, how you can get damage off of it, in what situations you can use it, and what characters can do what against it. you need to learn those situations. There's a couple things you can do with the second activation, like if you knock them down, you can just do something like that, and they typically won't have enough time to be able to punish you. A lot of times, most characters will back rise, they won't have enough time then. Same with this one. If you get any crush counters, you can react and use the second activation there. But anyway, that's what I think of V-Trigger 2. I think it requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of experience with it, you need to practice with it. It's unfortunately not a V-Trigger that is just better base. I think it can be as good as V-Trigger 1 and a lot more fun, but only if you practice with it a bunch. Anyway, that's it.